Do you remember about a year ago when the writers and actors strikes were at their peak? Marvel projects pushed back to 2026, paychecks that were about 10 cents, talk shows resorting to unscripted content? Well, if so, you'll also remember that Disney was getting absolutely railed by these strikes. As I mentioned, Marvel projects were tarnished, and Disney Plus TV shows, forget about it. So you'd assume, when that whole deal was finally settled, and Disney and other studios returned to the movie-making process, that they learned, right? Well, you would, unless you read the IGN article that blew up this week exposing Disney for a whole host of controversies occurring between the release of Lightyear and the release of Inside Out 2, even slightly extending into the future of the company's operations. Bad payments, overworking, they just haven't learned at all. It's a classic tactic with big business. Settle your union by giving them seemingly decent rewards, then find a loophole around those, and continue to do the same bullshit when the supervision dies down. So, in hopes of this becoming even almost as big publicly as that whole previous situation was, here I am, reading the article and making a video about it like a damn video-making fool. I'm so productive. Let's start. One of the first things the article brings up is strikingly similar to what SAG and WGA were protesting, which was awful time crunches for workers. This was a result of a whole host of things, but the main one would be the amount of last-minute story changes that needed to be fixed up before Inside Out 2 could be released. The thing is, if you have so many changes to accommodate that you cannot manage all of them at the same time and still make the release date, you might need to change the release date. I can understand why Disney wouldn't want to delay another movie, but if the film was, to them, unreleasable in its state, you have to prioritize that quality without then ruining the lives of your workers. The people working for you no longer have passion for the movie, and they're very open about that in the article. When all you're doing is pushing towards the finish line, there's no heart in it anymore. Sure, Disney is pretty clearly a heartless corporation, but I would hope that they understand that a film about personality requires personality. When your VFX team has to start working on shots that aren't even fully animated, an incredibly wild detail to read, because of your shitty, mismanaged assembly line, you're gonna have to consider restructuring. That's when we get to Pete Docter, director of the first Inside Out and the most discussed singular person in IGN's article. A few paragraphs in, IGN quotes Docter saying, "If this doesn't do well at the theater, I think it just means we're going to have to think even more radically about how we run our business." And yeah, man, no shit. You should already be doing that. If multiple movies have bombed for you, and then one succeeds, you should not just assume the problem is solved and move on. Before you consider what went right with Inside Out 2, consider what went wrong with Lightyear or Turning Red. Unfortunately, it seems that they did that, and came back with insane determinations, but we're going to talk about that after the rest of the Pete Docter stuff. While Docter is widely praised by the interviewees in the article, there's also some weird descriptions of him as a boss, a little after his own comments about the business. The article suggests he's presented as godlike, and that you can't do anything without him, which are both very unhealthy perspectives to instill in your employees. The whole God complex thing is just gross and unlikable, not to mention how much it stresses employees to basically please their master, but not being able to do anything without Docter might be even worse. Consider a VFX artist who runs into an issue designing a shot, which hasn't been fully animated, which is already bullshit. They talk to a coworker about what they should do, who refers them to a superior, who refers them to another superior, and that guy says, "Well, we're gonna have to tell Pete about this." Pete Docter is unlikely to show up for a very long time because he's a busy fucking guy. If you're waiting on a guy that important for everything, time is going to be wasted 100%. Maybe I'm overestimating how much Docter was really presiding over the making of this movie, but Disney does not have a good enough reputation for me to give them the benefit of the doubt. Okay, let's talk about the gays. Disney's analysis of their failures is totally horseshit almost every time, and their response to the failure of Lightyear, and their subsequent process for Inside Out 2, are the things which have gained the most attention from the general public. Essentially, in Lightyear, there is a kiss between a lesbian couple. Oh no, you say, but hold on. The more important lesbian of the two, the other one has no lines, dies within the first 20 minutes, and not only that, but her sexuality is completely irrelevant to her character. As well as that, the kiss is during a montage and lasts under 2 seconds. Okay, with all that in mind, Disney decided that that kiss was the biggest cause of Lightyear's box office failure and decided to avoid overtly gay affection in the future. Stick with me, there's more. Now with Inside Out 2, we got a fun little trailer where Riley meets this girl Val, and both Disney shills and Disney haters started discussing the whole thing on Twitter. Shills said they were gay, haters said it was queerbaiting, and the haters were definitely right, but Disney still got scared and issued a job to their employees. Make Riley, quote, less gay, unquote. Okay, so again, imagine a VFX artist, this time given this note. What do you even do? What does that even mean? You ask around and hear, just change the lighting in their scenes to be a little less romantic. So that's what you do. That's what they did. That's actually one of the fucking things they did to make it less romantic. They made the lighting less romantic. Fucking Christ. Imagine having to do that job. This was my initial thought when I saw this news, and it's what I posted about on Twitter because the wording is just baffling, and the details are even stupider. This would be the most awkward job to complete, and it also contributes to the time crunch, so now we know that people were working overtime because Riley came across as too gay. Joke's on you, Disney. Twitter will call her gay anyways. Those fuckers love lesbians. Unfortunately, now we end the section of the video that is goofy Disney doing stupid shit, and we instead get to the egregious, horrible actions entirely committed out of greed and carelessness. Layoffs. The employees knew about the layoffs, Disney knew about the layoffs, hell, I could have guessed that layoffs would happen, and you could too. But there's more behind it. Workers who were laid off did not receive bonuses for Inside Out 2 if they were fired before its release, they only received them if they were fired after. Considering this is what a lot of them were working for in the first place, that's a gut punch for sure, especially because the bonuses for previous movies were low. But it keeps going. Many layoffs seemed unlikely and avoidable considering circumstances. Some didn't correspond with the issues Disney had explained were causing layoffs, like relation to the Disney Plus network. Additionally, one worker pointed out that Disney could have paid for all of the lost jobs with 1% of what they spent on fucking Fortnite, which is just such a ridiculous thing to comprehend. But it keeps going. When workers were laid off, not only had they lost their jobs, but some also lost keycard access, personal files, and were refused the ability to gather their things so as to not make their former coworkers, who were actually their friends, feel awkward. One interviewee recounts their experience being locked out of the building and crying at the gates, which is one of those things you don't imagine could happen in real life until a company like Disney does that to someone. The free reign they have to meddle with their employees' lives so carelessly only a year after 2 different unions broke out seems insane and totally unruly. But that just seems to be the reality of it all. Disney thinks they're way more tapped in with the public and with general humanity than they actually are. Their backwards decisions continue to baffle me every time, and I cannot picture them ever reforming into a functioning moral business. Believing a movie failed because it was too gay really makes you look dumb. It's about that simple. And with their inability to change, these sad articles may continue to pop up and the reactions could just get infinitely dumber as Disney more than likely attempts to silence former employees. I mean, hell, they thought that one woman at Disneyland that died because of an allergic reaction signed too much paperwork to matter anymore. So who's saying they care about these stupid little underlings that are speaking up against them? Really? I mean, hell, they thought that one woman at Disneyland that died because of an allergic reaction signed too much paperwork to matter anymore. So who's saying they care about these stupid little underlings that are speaking up against them? Really? I know that this situation isn't going to get as much attention as some of the huger controversies, but I just wanted to make sure it wasn't completely forgotten, okay? That's all I'm here to do. Disney sucks, who would have thunk it, thank you, and good night. Bye now.